Hey everyone, welcome back to Snack Time. My name is Ben, and in today's quick tip video, I'm going to show you how to address the issue of running out of usable subnets when you're using Portainer's stack option, and it's creating its own networks automatically. So let's go ahead and jump into this. And this is not so much a Portainer issue as it is a Docker configuration thing. And so we're going to change this so that no matter what we're using, if it's automatically deploying networks, we're not going to run out of like subnets. Every single time that you deploy stack or Docker Compose, by default, Docker is going to use a /16 network. And if you're unfamiliar with that term, it refers to a CIDR, in which there's a really cool website I have here that it basically that number tells it how many IP addresses are going to be in a particular subnet. The /16 says, okay, well, every time we create a network for this maybe one Docker like Compose or stack, I'm going to give it the availability to use up to 65,000 IP addresses. Every single time we deploy that, this little number right here is the number that changes. It goes up to a 21 and then 22 and so on until it gets to 32. And when it turns into a 32, it stops being a non-routable local IP address and turns into one that actually exists in the world. And that can be a problem, especially if you're only trying to route traffic locally and you're not trying to send it off to some random IP address that just so happens to be sitting there. When we change this to a 24, instead of this number right here incrementing up by 1, this number over here does. And it can easily do that all the way up to, I believe, 255. So that's 255 networks until we have to worry about incrementing this by 1. And even if we do get to that point, say we hit this up to a 21, we're still within the non-routable IP addresses, and we still have another 255 potential subnets that we're going to use. And each one of those times that it increments or whatnot, we have an IP address that's going to start here and go all the way up to, I believe, 254. This is a really easy thing to do. You can see a demonstration, like I said here. This is actually counted up every single time I created one, it's went up. So what I want to do is I want to have these, instead of a 16, I want them to be a 24. Now for that, we're going to modify this file, the /etc/docker and daemon, however you want to pronounce it. For this, we are going to need to sign into our server using SSH, and I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to do SSH. I'm going to use my username of Ben, and I'm going to sign into my server. And once I am inside of my server, since I did not sign in as root, I'm going to have to use sudo every time I run a command, since this will be a privileged file. I'm going to use vim, but it's up to you if you want to use nano. Well, totally your call. I'm going to do vim and then /docker/daemon. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the contents of this file, this JSON right here, into my file. Let me break down what this does so you're a little bit familiar with that. So what this is saying, it's the default address pool. What is it? Well, I'm going to say my default address pool is 172.20.0.0. I want to make sure that this is not being used by something else currently. So you can get, like I said, all the way up to, I believe 32 is our limit. So try to stay below that. And you can specify multiple ones as well. But we're going to tell Docker, you can use this 172.20.0.0/16 subnet, but every time you do create one, make sure it is a /24 network. All right, so with that being said, let's make sure it's not being used. And if it is, we may want to choose a different one. We can see this is being used by this default one right here. If you do specify one that is already in use, you may run into some issues. I'm just going to use, I believe, 24. I don't see that being used. So let's go ahead and change that to a 24. All right, and I'm going to save this. And next step that we have to do is to either reboot our Docker server, or if you want to do something like just restarting it, you can do that as well. To restart, very simple. We're just going to do a sudo systemctl restart Docker. Once that is restarted, you'll most likely have to sign back into Portainer. All right, once we are signed in, let's test this out and make sure it's going to work. We're going to create another really quick stack. I'm just going to call this 6. All right, so now if we go into our networks, let's find 6, which is right here. So if we zoom in, we see that we are starting off with 172.24.1. And if we create another one, this will be a .2, 3, 4, and so on. All right, so that pretty much is a way we can address the running out of IP addresses, at least non-routable ones, on our Docker server. Well, I hope this has been helpful for you. I hope you found it informative. If you have any questions or comments, please definitely leave them down below. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take it easy.